If you were to go to the airport today, you wouldn't see nearly as many people as you did earlier in the summer. This is the slump period for airlines until Thanksgiving and Christmas come. But Eastern Airlines hopes to do a lot of business before then by slashing in half its fares to 30 Northeast, Midwest, and Southern cities.
In Oklahoma City, as soon as school started, we noticed a considerable drop in the business. So in order to kind of get out of the slump that we all have during the fall, we thought we'd try this $249 round-trip fare. And we hope that this might spur some people that have intentions of visiting their friends, their relatives, their parents, to maybe take it this fall rather than wait for the normal time, which would be winter, spring, or summer.
The discount sale starts today and runs through September 25th. The discounts are good until December 15th. The only thing is, you have to be able to decide in the next few days where you want to take a trip and when. No open destinations are given. The new fare, which is $249, will take you round trip between Oklahoma City and 30 other cities. Bella Shaw, Action 4 at Will Rogers World Airport. What do you think about their plan to just build two new?
Well, Willard never did want to join forces with us, and it is really too far for them to walk up here. It's over a mile, and for little kindergarten kids, that's just too far. And we need neighborhood schools, and we think it will be better to keep the school up at Eugene Field's site, and the Willard people want their school at their site, and we're very happy with the decision.
I've been waiting a long time since May 10th. I hope, well, I had the two best assets on my side. I had number one, God, and number two, Lana Tyree, and I just feel really good about it. I hope that the board can recognize how much money has been spent, and we can all get back to the kids, and that's why we're here.
These people are some of the 37,000 Oklahomans who received notice they were eligible for President Reagan's 6-week extension of unemployment benefits. They will be able to draw the same amount of unemployment they have been drawing in the past. The office will be taking claims through March 31st of 1983. In Oklahoma alone, some 20,000 people have lost their jobs in manufacturing fields, and so people like Melvin Fitzhugh are happy to get a little more money until something else comes along.
Well, it just means I can pay a few more bills until I can find a job.
The unemployment offices will be hard-pressed to process all the claims, but they say people should start getting their checks in a couple of weeks.
We experienced a rather sharp reduction in staffing last year that has made it difficult to process individuals as rapidly as we would like. However, we fully anticipate that we'll be able to handle the workload.
There is a possibility the benefits would be extended an additional 2 weeks at the end of the year if Oklahoma's unemployment rate, now at 6%, continues to rise. Bella Shaw, Action 4 at the Oklahoma Employment Security Commission.
This This is more than just home for the Bennett family. This is also where they bank. From the comfort of her den, Sarah Bennett is checking an up-to-the-minute report on how much money she has. All it takes is her TV set and a computer terminal linked by phone line to her bank. The Bennetts are part of an experiment in home banking and pioneers for the way we might all be banking someday.
Well, number one, the convenience. I mean, I don't enjoy writing checks. I don't enjoy standing in bank lines to find out my bank balance. I don't enjoy calling the bank and being put on hold to find out what checks have cleared and what haven't. This computer provides me with all that information.
With this innovation, Sarah can transfer money from checking to savings, pay bills, and even balance her checkbook. But that TV screen still won't dispense cash. At the end of each month, she gets a statement with a record of all transactions, and she can check for errors. But so far, Sarah says she hasn't had a problem. When she presses a wrong button, the computer corrects her. The difficult part is getting used to dealing with a machine instead of people.
They are frightening. I mean, I will say that I was a little taken back by them.
So how long will it be before the Bennett family experiment in computer home banking becomes as ordinary as, say, home computer games? Well, it might be sooner than you think or even want to think. At least one bank this fall plans on offering computer home banking to the public.
The Pioneer Chemical Bank of New York plans to charge $5 a month for this new service. Like it or not, the television set is going to gain even more popularity at home. At least that's what the banking industry is counting on. If home TV computer banking flops, the banks might receive the ultimate canceled check. Steve Newman, Action 4.
This was a familiar sight to drivers out and about in the city. The torrential rainfall left dozens and dozens of motorists stranded. The reflection of flashing emergency lights could be seen as the raindrops came down and the flooding waters went up. Some of the drivers chose to stay in their cars in hopes that they'd crank again, but the majority of the helpless chose to leave and find refuge out of the storm. The driver of this vehicle had no choice. The sports car was simply overpowered by the rushing water. Its owner apparently wasted no time retreating, not even to turn the headlights off. The police and fire department had quite a scare on this one. For some time, they were afraid the owner was trapped in the car underneath the surface. But she showed up at the scene after running to a nearby apartment to call for help. It'll be some time before she forgets this night.
I was driving down Pennsylvania and I saw that I couldn't get through down here, and so I thought that I could turn into this parking lot, or so I thought it was a parking lot, and I started sinking. It was a ravine or something.
There is one good note in this story. Despite the large number of motorists stranded, no one appears to have been seriously injured. Sherry Sellers, Action 4.
Katie Ragsdale has to buy a lot for her family, everything from clothes to baseball gloves. But now she shops in a new way, with something called a debit card. It looks like a credit card, but it doesn't act like one. This card uses funds available in Katie's bank account, no credit. The debit card takes the place of a check. One advantage of this card over the credit card is that it automatically helps one manage their money, unlike the credit card, which manages to spend people's money.
We had a credit card before, and it's very easy to run up big bills, and all of a sudden you turn around after the holidays or something and you owe a lot of money. And this way it comes out of your checking account and you enter it into a checkbook register so that you can see.
Debit cards are not widely used yet, but banking experts say this card just might revolutionize the entire banking system.
Debit card is a simple way of writing a check. You don't have to go to the bother of writing a check. You don't have to carry a lot of cash. You don't have to show extra ID as you do with a check. You just take out the card, and that's the end of it.
Right now, merchants handle credit cards like debit cards, meaning there is some paperwork. But in the next few years, the paper will be replaced with less costly and more efficient computer systems. The debit card will be read electronically. In a matter of only a few minutes, what you owe will go out of your account and into some merchant's account.
The debit card might make banking easier since it will handle all of our money through computers. But how safe is the computer? Safe from error or from fraud? That's what we'll look at tomorrow in our next Newsbreaker segment of Electric Cash. I'm Steve Newman. We've come a long way from the days when we did all our banking with a friendly human teller at our nearest branch. It's now the computer age of banking, and we're all part of it. Most of us have become accustomed to taking money from machines instead of people, but many still wonder if this kind of banking is safe.
You could get mugged at the machine as you're coming and going with it, especially when I see people standing up in front of some of these automatic tellers like at 10 or 11 o'clock at night.
If you lose an automated teller card, it could be a lot more expensive than losing a credit card, where by law your maximum liability is $50. With this card, depending on how long you wait before you notify your bank, you could lose anywhere from $50 to the full amount of any authorized use. As for computer errors on your account, you have 2 months to let your bank know, and within a short time, the bank must resolve the problem. While computerized home banking is still experimental, similar rules will apply. So there is protection for those of us who will bank electronically.
With more computers handling our money, we will eventually have no need for credit cards or even checks. More on that tomorrow as we conclude our Newsbreaker series, Electric Cash. I'm Steve Newman.
The American tradition of feeling our money and banking face-to-face won't die quickly. Many people just aren't sold on computers, and who's to say they should be except for George Orwell and his novel 1984? Call them big brothers or little sisters. Either way, banks are adopting them to do their business more efficiently, less expensively, and with a bigger profit on that bottom line. The number of automated tellers alone will double in the next 2 years. But where is it all headed, and how radically will it change our lives?
I see you in the future being able to get up in the morning, go to the grocery store, do your shopping, use a card. Stop and get your hair done, use a card. Fill your car with gas, use a card.
Dale Briggs is talking about a debit card. It will be used in place of cash or checks, but it is not a credit card, which uses the bank's money. More often than not, will cost you a finance charge and some expensive lessons in managing your money. The debit card will only use your money, money in the bank. At home, the future holds for us a banking system to let you look at your own account, transfer money, and pay your bills, all at the touch of some buttons at home. More than ever, we'll have the technology to monitor every penny we spend.
It's the way of the future, really. I've seen it coming for a number of years.
I don't know. It's not as personal as going into a bank and actually doing your banking there.
It's not a question of whether or not we'll ever have computer banking. It's only a question of when. And it's not going to take very long, because already technology exists that can link this entire country electronically. And as far as the book 1984 and its author George Orwell, well, let's hope he gave Big Brother a bum rap in that book. I'm Steve Newman.
When Oklahoma's Sooners are winning, it's a happy day for the triumphant fans. When they're losing, well, it can ruin a true follower's whole darn week. Honestly, every time the defense lets a pass slip by, or a runner slip by, a stabbing pain shoots through the heart of every fan. The real tremor comes when the team does the unmentionable. You know what I'm talking about. Coming in second when there are only two sides? Well, when this happens, watch out.
One person that I knew began to kick the wastebasket and picked on the dog and yelled at his family when he was a very mild-mannered person otherwise. It's a process that we call introjection, and they actually then experience feelings of either depression or anger or frustration as if it had happened to them personally. I think the important thing is just to recognize that it was a game, that is an external object, that it's not actually happening to them, that they still have their health and their job, and that the end of the world hasn't come.
Of course, not all Oklahoma fans have been depressed this week. After all, my alma mater, OSU, did win. Sherry Sellers, Action 4. The fire had burned for a little over an hour before firemen could bring in their hoses at close range. It was just too hot and too smoky to send anyone in without endangering their lives.
It was awful hard to get to. A lot of smoke and the access to the buildings, it was only accessible to the front and to the back, and there was a lot of heat buildup, and then the roof started caving in, and it made it more difficult to fight the fire.
Once the firefighters were able to get in the buildings, it was too late. The Olympic Village sporting goods shop, where it's believed the blaze started, was destroyed, as well as a clothing shop next door, Two's Company. 6 or 7 other businesses in the block received smoke and water damage, but nothing serious. A spokesman for the Norman Fire Department estimates the losses to reach at least $500,000.
Back behind barricade, please.
As for the cause of the fire, that's still being investigated. At first, firemen thought it could have been started by a T-shirt press, but not anymore. It appears poor wiring could have sparked off today's fire. Sherry Sellers, Action 4 in Norman.
That's all right.
Why do I do these things?
By her.
Well, you said you were going to shoot this, you bum.
You gotta remember there's a baby in there.
Are you really? The caliper isn't big enough. You're very angry.
We don't want your heart rate. You've already ridden 2 minutes and 31 seconds now, and the heart rate's 57. Kind of its score is what we're looking for. It'll be a little D instead of a P. So we'll ride for a while.
So your prediction?
Yeah.
I'm going to put my money on Linda.
I need Brad Edwards in my corner. Brad.
Linda's at 104. All right. She's in the bottom of the good category. She's, what, 9 beats higher? Her heart's in about 9 beats better fitness than Bob's. I beat him again. She beat him again. They're cool.
Veterans who fought in Vietnam are fighting bureaucracy in the States. They want help to the medical problems they face because of their exposure to Agent Orange. Today, a new study was passed to help the state veterans. The idea behind the study is to pinpoint health problems.
Any additional information that we can collect will be of use. Many of the studies are national in scope, and so that we don't really know at the state level specific individuals who can come forward and say, yes, this was my experience.
But some veterans feel that treatments are needed, not studies.
The veterans have no alternative. They participate in a state study, they become politically active, or they have nothing.
Thousands of responses are needed in order to make this study useful. That means if veterans consider the study to be red tape instead of helpful, it could be a real flop. Debbie Mash, Action 4 at the State Health Department.
The Chinese island of Taiwan is a long way from the state of Oklahoma. But today and all this week, the two got together in Shawnee to exchange ideas about grain production. Taiwan buys 96% of their wheat from the United States. Annually, they send representatives to tour the facilities that feed so much of their population. So far, the Shawnee mill has left a favorable impression.
I think they got very nice laboratory facilities, and the meeting is very efficient. And they have put the meeting equipment to the best use, and this is, and we are very much impressed.
Oklahoma wheat growers look upon these visits as a golden opportunity to promote Oklahoma's #1 cash crop.
We have a responsibility, the wheat producers in this state, to develop markets, but in order to develop it, we must also maintain it, and one in which that in itself is very important. We have very strong competition from other countries, particularly Canada, that is trying to get a foot into that particular market, and so it's this close tie and this personal relationship that's developed that is really important.
Flours, bakeries, tortilla flours, all of our specialty type products.
Explaining and teaching American concepts about crop production is a valuable public relation device. It could mean more money for Oklahoma wheat farmers in the long run. Kevin Ogle, Action 4 in Shawnee.
Well, it's game day here in Norman, a lot of activity going on, and one of the busiest activities is ticket scalping.
Got 2 on a 40 for 75 apiece. 2 on a 40, 75 apiece.
Selling tickets at inflated prices is not a practice that Oklahoma University officials look upon fondly, but it goes on nonetheless. One reason is there is a big demand for tickets on game day. People are willing to buy a seat for higher prices. But sometimes the price can get exorbitant even for the most die-hard fan, and then resentment begins to show.
Well, I think it's pretty unfair, to tell you the truth.
Why?
Well, all these people, these scalpers, have got all the tickets, and none of the rest of us can get in because they've got all of them taken up, and they want $60 a pair for them, or a piece.
What's the lowest price you've seen for them yet?
50. That's ridiculous.
Even though there is a certain amount of animosity toward the scalpers, people buy from them. The sellers wave their product in the air and shout out the price, and usually get good results.
Well, yeah, they want a deal back and forth, you know. How about 50? No, got to go up to 60, 65, you know, they come up and down. So just goes back and forth.
There is money to be made.
A little bit here and there. It depends on who buys the tickets from who and who sells them to who.
So for some, money is really no object when trying to find a spot in OM Stadium on football Saturday. So the art of scalping tickets will go on as long as there is a market for it. Kevin Ogle, Action 4 in Norman.
This is one of the most acclaimed symbols of status. In the dictionary of wealth, Rolls-Royce comes right behind Rockefeller. It is the car by which luxury cars are judged. The Rolls-Royce is completely handcrafted. It is adorned with stainless steel stripping, lamb's wool carpet, veneer woodwork, and natural cowhide. It's no surprise that this prestigious car captures your pocketbook as well as your eye. But you may find it surprising that hundreds of these cars are still sold each year, many of them right here in Oklahoma.
Gosh, we sell people that have, all of a sudden made a big deal and has extra money to spend and wants a prestige car, and sometimes we've sold as many as 2 cars to one person. It's a very unique car, and it's the most prestigious car in the world. Rolls, they only import 1,200 cars to the United States each year, so there's always a limited number that are available.
About 1,200 Rolls-Royces will be sold in the United States this year, and Jackie Cooper will sell about 10 of those. If $150,000 is a little bit much for a Rolls-Royce, take heart. You could drive away in this new Ferrari for $50,000. Debbie Mash, Action 4 in Northwest Oklahoma City.
Even the most exclusive stores in the city, where people can pretty much buy what they want, have noticed that the customers are pickier about what they buy. If it'll only last one season, they're not interested. They want to see their dollar stretch as far as it will go. They're more interested in quality. Since the oil business went down, this retailer admits his store has not kept up with the 30% increase in sales the store experienced last year.
We're not seeing the robust increases we had last year, where we were picking up at least 30%, and everybody else is doing well too. This year, we're seeing that our sales are still increasing, but at a decreasing rate.
This medium-priced department store has been remodeling and upgrading its line of merchandise with a focus on quality. Sales are up over last year by 20%. People's buying habits are changing. While they may not have as much money to buy with, they are buying.
They're buying a lot better quality merchandise. And of course, we've upscaled the merchandise that we carry so that we're going pretty much for the upper moderate to the better quality merchandise, rather than getting into the budget or the lower moderate type of merchandise. We leave that segment of the market for our competitors.
Perhaps the biggest boon of all can be seen in name brand discount clothing stores. For example, this store is one of 45 across the country. By the end of 1984, there will be 150 of them. Business is up 25%. People like name brands. They also like low prices.
Everybody wants to be able to buy the clothes they want to wear, still have change afterwards.
Clothing stores would be in a terrible fix if people quit buying whenever the economy took a tumble. Luckily, people adapt and change their buying habits according to the times. Bella Shaw, Action 4 in Northwest Oklahoma City.
These high school seniors will soon be taking their Scholastic Aptitude Test, a test that will help determine if they go to college and what college they can go to. But statistics show the black student will score below the average test taker. The College Board report shows that of the high school seniors that took the college entrance exams, 75,000 black test takers averaged nearly 100 points below the national average. The scores for black students were lowest in verbal and math skills. The median score for white students was 442 in verbal, compared to 332 for blacks. In math skills, white students scored an average of 483. Black test takers averaged only 362. The report also notes that the average family income of the black students was less than half that of their white classmates. Suzette Batson, an Oklahoma City school teacher, says the economic barrier is the real educational barrier.
It seems to me that it would be a lot fairer to separate the test by socioeconomic groups rather than by races, to see how the test scores came out then, because a lot of kids don't know enough to take the SAT test. Maybe they don't need, you know, to go into college expecting to come out with a doctor's degree. If they want to go to college, they should be allowed to. But I don't think they should be expected to make a certain score on the SAT to get there, because a lot of them can't.
But those low test scores may be on their way up. State Senator Roger Randall says a new funding appropriation aimed at low-income districts will help.
We have also, in the new funding formula that was adopted a couple of years ago, put special emphasis on economically deprived people, recognizing that the economically deprived will have extra educational needs beyond what middle-class students will have.
Randall says once schools overcome social and economic barriers, their test scores are bound to improve. Debbie Mash, Action 4.
Test is not because they're black, it's because they're economically deprived. And if we could isolate out whites from lower economic groups, we'd see the same lessened performance there as we see among blacks.